So going back to the cases, I guess like, so you have what are the spectrum of the charges, and with like, I guess tell me more about like the charges. Which ones were some like were there some people at the back of the entering the building that didn't actually maybe interact with like cops or like didn't like how did they judge the cases? Was there at least some discretion in like the severity, or was people nails and everyone were they hammers? What the fuck it is? Like everyone a nail and they're hammer.
It's a good question. There's the people who were in the back are still being arrested today, and I can explain it after the initial explanation. But you have hundreds of men, white men, some Latinos, some blacks as well. It wasn't all white guys, right? A lot of Puerto Ricans, some Puerto Rican, a lot of Puerto Ricans got jammed up that day too, right? So, you know, how did all these people, if you're John the mailman, Joe the doctor, Ken the lawyer, and you're Muhammad who works at the bodega, right? Or Muhammad the doctor, right? And you're all there. How did all these people who have no prior contacts with the criminal justice system all get assaults on officers? And they punch cops, right? Why did this happen? This happened because when they were out there singing and cheering, right, around 1:30, 1:45, the Capitol Police and the Metropolitan Police Department decided to rain down all types of crowd control munitions on these people. So you're sitting there singing "How Great Thou Art," and one guy's singing there, and boom, a rubber bullet goes through his cheek out here, right? I got another guy who I'm suing him for $5 million. They just decided to shoot him at point blank range with a weapon, with a crowd control device that you're supposed to shoot from yards away, and skip hop it. It fractured his femur, right? Ashley Babbitt was murdered. Roseanne Boylan died. Kevin Greason died. Benjamin Phillips died. A lot of people were dying. And when good men see women, the elderly, the infirmed, and innocent people getting attacked by the police, they go, "Yo, officer, chill the fuck out." Right. They do it again. "Yo, officer, chill the fuck out." Boom, boom, boom. "Yo, officer, bang."
Yeah.
Right? So normally, you're on the hook for an assault on an officer, right? Mm-hmm. But they say, okay, you went there, and then they look at your text messages. "We're going to go there and we're going to have a war," right? Extra 5 points. "We're going to go there and we're going to do this." Most of these people wanted to go fight Antifa. Yeah. And they jack up the charges, they run up the scoreboard, and they threaten you. I've had guys facing 100 years in jail for a punch a cop in the face.
So to take a step back, so because you're explaining, there's a system within the federal government that the points are for your sentence, or the points are for your charge?
Yeah, it runs on an X and Y axis, right? So you get certain, if you have no criminal history, you have a criminal history score of 0 or 1, right? And if, depending on the seriousness of your charge, it'll put you out in that bracket. The reason why they use the 15-12 charge is because it gives you 20 years mandatory. It bumps you all the way out to 14 points from the jump street, right? So normally, on assault on a cop, you'd be 5, 6, 8 points. You're at 15 points, you're already at 1.5 years in jail to 3 years, right? And it goes up from there. So if you punch somebody, not only do you get the assault charge, you obstructed the proceeding, because if you punched a cop 3 blocks from the Capitol, what your intent was to do was to make sure they didn't certify the election. It was all bullshit. They charge you with other charges. There's a charge called civil disorder, right? It's 213 charge, 231 charge. And it says that the way it works is, if you impeded an officer during what's called a civil disorder, then you could be on the hook for 5 years, right? So, you know, we had to argue and say this is overbroad, it's overly general. If a guy pushes a cop at a gas station 10 blocks from the Capitol, but he intended on going to the Capitol, or maybe he was headed back, he said the Capitol's too much, but he sent text messages to his friends in November saying we're going to go there and tear shit up, they put him on the hook for civil disorder. So if you were there, they come up with creative ways to shape and smooth the statute to get you. Because the process is the punishment. They know that they're going to send you to this jail. We call it the DC Gulag. And you're going to sit there and you're going to rot. And most people don't want to go. So they try to work it out.
So basically, like, let's say, for example, you don't engage in any property damage. They're given entry to the Capitol, whether through force or not. But, like, eventually they stop impeding the entry, right? If I'm there at this event, I don't physically engage with anyone. I walk into the building, I walk around, and I walk out without getting into a fist fight or anything. That's still going to turn into something that may or may not give me 5 or 20 years?
I got 2 clients right now, Shondell and Donald Chilcote. And they walked in, they were waved in. They, "Hey, how you doing?" Officers were taking selfies. They walked into the Senate chamber and they left, right? They're facing like 30 years a pop.
Based on, so explain that, because that doesn't make no sense.
1512 charges just got overturned today, 20 years minimum, right? And then they have forcible entry into the Capitol. It's an illegal entry into the Capitol. It's got a certain amount of years. Then you're in a civil disorder. Then they charge you with conspiracy, and they stack all this shit up, and it becomes very ugly very quick. And then if you sent text messages, or if you said something like, you know, think you're at a feminist protest and somebody's like, fuck the patriarchy, and then like a father walks by and somebody punches them in the face, right? Like that could happen. It's foreseeable. Somebody says, "Oh, I'm pro-life. You shouldn't kill babies," and they go, "Fuck the patriarchy," and hit you, right? That's normal shit that you could jump up at the front lines of a protest. Right. But on January 6th, if you like fuck Joe Biden, the election was stolen, and you push in the door, they want 10 years for that. They want 10 years for that because they're saying that you participated in a conspiracy to overturn the election. It's an attack on democracy. Right?
Because of where it happened.
Because of where it happened.
Because it was in a government building.
And it's ridiculous, man. Those people went down there with the hopes of having their voices heard. So maybe their congressman or congresswoman would say, hey, I'm not going to certify. But after the violence happened, everybody certified the election. So they all lost and Trump lost.